naysayers, and to all of those that would like to destroy the future of the greatest country in the world, our message to them is the same as my grandfather's. Them that's going, get on the wagon. Them that ain't, get out of the way.
Herman Cain.
Herman Cain.
Solutions for a better America.
Thank you for joining us. This is your host, Herman Cain. Thank you for joining us today because you know we are going to tell you the truth and give you the facts because we want you to be better informed and inspired to help make this a better United States of America. Well, we now know, folks, that the Democrats did not want to get on the wagon when it came to the Tax Reconciliation Act of 2017, which we have been calling the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. And happening today, right now, the House is getting ready to take its final vote, and it is expected that the president might sign it later today. But also happening now is our special guest, Senator David Perdue from Georgia. Welcome, Senator David Perdue.
Good morning, my friend. How are you?
I am doing marvelous. I couldn't be happier, and I have been celebrating all day, and I'm sure you have.
Well, it was a late night last night. We had the final vote at 1 a.m. The vice president read us the news. 51-48, we signed an historic bill into law. And today, the House, in a procedural vote, that's all this is. The House has already passed this bill. This is a procedural vote to make sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. But the president will sign this sometime soon, and this will be the law of the land. I'll tell you what, I am so excited, Herman. This is big. I came here to try to help change the direction of our country. And, you know, with the help of a lot of Georgians, we did that. We have a man in the White House who's trying to do the same thing. This tax bill will help us do that. No question about it.
That is fantastic. Now, you serve on the Senate Finance Committee. Is that correct?
Well, I'm actually on the Budget Committee, which we did this whole tax bill was done under the Budget Committee in a reconciliation. The Finance Committee obviously ran it through there, ran amendments and so forth.
Right.
And, you know, what we've got here, Herman, is a bill that does three things. One is it helps our American businesses, both private businesses and public businesses, be competitive with the rest of the world again.
Right.
And then we eliminate this stupid repatriation tax where we double tax our own companies. And, you know, the result of our current law, Herman, is that twice as many foreign companies are buying U.S. companies as U.S. companies buying foreign companies. We got to fix that. And this bill will do that. And the third, and maybe the most important thing for most of your listeners, is we really do roll back a lot of the things that happened under the Democratic rule here. We give the middle class a tax cut. Let me give you two examples. A median income family of four will get the median income in this country for a family of four is $73,000.
Right.
That family will get a 60% tax reduction, Herman. And a working mother with one child is going to get a 75% tax cut who makes the median income of $41,000. So, you know, you'll hear a lot of disinformation, and I know your show is predicated on getting the truth out and getting the facts out. Well, what I'm giving you right now is not facts. I mean, they're not innuendo or guesses or forecasts. These are just facts.
Now, why, and I can say this because I don't have to be politically correct, so you don't have to repeat the question. Why are the Democrats lying about it not being a tax cut for the middle class?
Well, it's been honestly, it's been the Democratic mantra for years, going back into the 90s, really, that it doesn't matter if you're telling people the truth as long as you tell it to them and tell it to them and tell it to them.
Yep.
They pretty soon believe it's the truth.
Yes.
Well, you know where that came from, Herman? That came from Lenin in the Soviet Union in the early 20th century.
Wow.
It is a fallacy. Sooner or later, there's a day of reckoning, though, because American people are smart. And what they did this last year in the election for president is they saw through that nonsense. In the Democratic Party, Hillary Clinton says that the reason she didn't get elected was that she didn't go far enough left. And so now you hear the Democratic Party talking about single-payer health care, bigger government. And what we saw last night was a vote for the American worker, Herman. This bill is not about the rich. It's about the people who work with their hands to make a living. And we want a level playing field with the rest of the world, and that's what this tax bill will do.
I don't think a lot of people know what that statement means. She didn't go far enough to the left. I heard someone say earlier this morning, one of the members of Congress talk about the fact that there's no longer the JFK Democrat Party like it was when you had Democrats back in the 1960s, that has been co-opted by the far, far left and the progressives, as they want to call themselves, and the socialists. So that's what I think you mean when you say she didn't go left. She didn't go far enough left.
Well, there's no question. Bernie Sanders is out absolutely touting socialism is the way forward for the United States. I cannot believe in my lifetime on the floor of the United States Senate I have to listen to a United States senator espouse the virtues of socialism. And he can't do it because there's no living example in history where socialism has worked.
Exactly.
We know capitalism works. It's better for everybody, from the entry-level worker all the way to the owner of small businesses. But what we've done is we've sucked the very life out of our free enterprise system in the last decade because of overregulation and overtaxation. This bill last night moves directly to address the things that we have in the tax code that keep us from having vital, growing, and healthy businesses. And look at what's going on, Herman. Under this president this year, here are the results. 2 million new jobs already created this year.
Right.
860 regulations and rules have been reversed.
Wow.
Illegal crossing of the southern border down 60%, Herman. And then we've got consumer confidence at a 16-year high, CEO confidence at a 16-year high. This Senate passed 97-2, a bill that allowed the Department of the Veterans Administration Department to fire people for non-performance. And guess what? They fired over 500 people so far in the last few months. Department
Really?
of Education's fired 300. Herman, this economy is ready to pop. And what we had to do is get big government moving out of the way. We've done that on regulations, and we're doing it. We did it last night on this tax bill.
I didn't hear on the nightly news that 500, veteran VA workers were fired because they needed to be fired. You don't hear this kind of stuff as part of the list of accomplishments. Now, with you having come from the private sector and having been a former CEO of a Fortune 500 company, I'm sure you found it very frustrating working in the Senate amongst those sometimes archaic rules to get us to this point that we are today on tax reform.
Oh, Herman, it is the most frustrating I've ever done in my life. But, that's why I came here, is to try to fight through this morass of noise to
Yes.
get at the salient facts. And that's what I just gave your listeners that they don't get through the national media.
No.
We get a lot of noise. We get the shiny objects. Your show and your ethos is about the only thing I've seen, honestly, that consistently puts facts out and lets people make up their own mind. I've
Yes.
never seen a situation where disinformation rules the day. And that's what I'm trying to do personally, is I'm trying to make sure our messaging deals only with facts. People can deal with it the way they want. We've got a president that is not an ideologue, as you well know. He
Right.
is dealing in facts, and he only has one objective, and that's get results. That's why people elected him. I think that's why I was elected. And so I'm the outsider here looking in. People up here really don't know what to do with me. They don't know what to do with this president because we're both focused on getting results, Herman.
I know what to do with you. Keep you there and encourage you. That's what we need to do with you and this president. For those of you that are just joining me, this is the Herman Cain Show, and I'm talking with Senator David Perdue, who is on the Budget Committee in the Senate, and he was giving us an update and his reaction to what is about to happen with the final vote in the House and a signature by the president. And I got to tell you, Senator Perdue, how proud I am. As you know, I have been working on trying to get some major changes to our tax code since the early 1990s. And it seems as if we are finally going to get it across the finish line. Not just a victory for the president and the Republicans, but a victory for the American people.
I remember when you ran for president, you had one of your platforms was revising our tax code. And
Yep.
It would have worked, and we wouldn't have gone through the last decade, frankly, of the lowest economic growth in the history of our country had we done some of those things back then. Look,
Yes.
Nobody's got all the answers, but what we're doing in this bill will absolutely change the direction of our economy for the next few decades. And I'm so encouraged because people have been overwhelmingly supportive of this. You see these public polls that only 26% support this bill. Well, if the only thing I was listening to were these national liberal networks,
Right.
well, heck, I might not like it either. But I know the facts, Herman, and I know
Yes.
what this does for people who work for a living. They touch a time clock. I know what it does for the business owners, the small business owners. And on top of that, Herman, just last week, 2 weeks ago, in the Banking Committee, I'm a member, we passed a bill 16-7 out of committee into the Senate floor that will change a good bit of Dodd-Frank and help small banks and community banks and regional banks open up their lending capacity again. It is a very exciting day in America, frankly.
That is also huge news that you just don't hear about, which is why I'm so glad that you were willing to come on the show and share some of those things with us about some of the things that are going on, because you don't hear it in the liberal media. You don't always know that these things are happening. I knew that you all were doing something on Dodd-Frank, but I did not know that you had gotten to the point that you've gotten to where you're ready to take something to the floor of the United States Senate. That is huge, because I know some bankers. Huge, I know some bankers that were put out of business because of Dodd-Frank. And now, this is good news for the people that are in the banking business. Well, I got to tell you.
For small town America and small business, Herman, this is huge, as you said. I'm very excited about it, but it's also a bipartisan bill. That's the other thing. I mean, there are 4 people in the banking committee who are Democrats who saw the light of this and why it would be good for small businesses. So I'm hopeful that we're about to turn a corner here to bring reason back. But let me give you some bad news. In the next few hours here in Washington, now that taxes is done, this bill is done, we've got to face another continuing resolution to fund the government. And I know you've been talking a lot about that, even today. This is nonsense, Herman. I mean, what we've got here is a broken budget system. I've been screaming this for a few years. You've been doing it longer than I have. You know that this is broken. This is December, 3 months after the start of this fiscal year, and this government up here has not decided how it's going to fund itself for the next year. It's crazy. You can't do that in your business. Nobody can do it in their personal lives.
No.
Somehow Congress thinks they can get away with it. So my mission in life up here is to try to help change that budget process as soon as we can. We've been working on it ever since I got up here.
I know the Democrats have been threatening to force a government shutdown. In your opinion, based upon what you know today, do you think they're going to pull it off, or do you think we are going to get that, at least that short-term continuing resolution?
Well, they've been obstructive for sure. I think we're going to get it done, but it won't. It'll be something that will be temporary, and this is another frustration. In order to deal with the Democratic pressure here, they're going to put a temporary continuing resolution into January, and then between now and January, go through the full funding for the balance of the year. The reason this is so long is that this ties the hands of our military, Herman. It's a procedural detail, but doing these continuing resolutions, we've done over 100 of these since 1974 when this Budget Act was put in that we operate under today. And in 43 years, this budget process has only funded the government 4 times. And in the other years, what we have to do is this continuing resolution, then an omnibus of some kind to fund the government. But this ties the hands of our military. They can't continue with their acquisition contracts. They can't move money from, say, infantry to artillery, for example. It just totally puts them on hold, and we can't keep doing this.
I know, especially with respect to the military, given the state of things around the world and the threats that are coming from North Korea and some of the hanky-panky from some of the others. Well, Senator David Perdue, congratulations to you for your leadership. Congratulations to all of the Republicans on this Tax Reconciliation Act of 2017. And my friend, I got to tell you, stay encouraged, because we know that you, this president, and this time around, you were looking out for the American people. So thank you for being with us, sir. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, Senator.
Merry Christmas, my brother. God bless you.
Now, you were supposed to say Merry Christmas, my brother from another mother. I was trying to give you the first shot, and you didn't take it. Love you, brother. You're listening to the Herman Cain Show.
Breaking news, experience, and insight. Herman Cain brings it to you every day on the radio and at HermanCain.com.